Welcome to part 3 of how to record drums at home. So far, we've talked about gear you need to record, how to set up your audio interface with your DAW, and today I'm going to show you how to place your mics to get the best sound possible. I'm going to use standard mic techniques that are great for most genres. On my next series of videos, I'm going to talk about mixing drums, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. For a kick drum, first you need a porthole. This is so you can get the kick mic farther inside the kick drum. Generally, I start with putting the kick mic about 1/3 of the way into the kick drum. If you want more click and attack, like for rock and metal, you can put the mic farther into the kick drum and aim the mic directly at the kick beater. If you want more body and fullness to the kick sound, you can bring the mic so it's just inside the porthole. For snare, I put the end of the mic about 1 to 2 inches inside of the rim and 2 to 3 inches above the snare head. And I point the mic directly at the center of the snare. I find that this gets a natural sound that's easy to mix. One of the big issues with mixing snare mics is hi-hat bleed. Generally, mics are least sensitive directly from the back of the mic, so if you face the back of the mic towards the hi-hat, you'll reduce the most bleed. So placing the mic directly under the hi-hat or somewhere in between those drumsticks is a good place to put it. For toms, I place the mics similar to how I place the snare, about 1 to 2 inches inside of the rim and 2 to 3 inches above the head. A lot of tom mics come with clamps that limit the placement, but I usually find it's not much of an issue. For rack toms, I usually place the mics under the left crash cymbal to reduce bleed from that the most. And I aim the mic at the center of the tom. For floor tom, I usually place the mic anywhere in between those drumsticks, and I aim the mic somewhere in between the center of the drum and halfway between the rim and the center of the drum. The biggest problem you'll face with floor toms is bleed from the china cymbal, so if you place it right under the china, it usually helps. The overheads are meant to capture a full drum sound, with the close mics reinforcing those individual drums. The most important thing for us is to capture an even blend of all the cymbals. On the hi-hat side, I place the mic pointed directly down, somewhere in between the hi-hat and the left crash. And on the ride cymbal side, I point the mic directly down and put it somewhere between the ride, right crash, and china cymbal if there is one. If you have small, quieter cymbals, like splashes and stacks, they may not be picked up very much by the overheads, so you'll need extra mics to close mic them specifically. Remember, the goal here is to get an even blend of the cymbals, so if the overhead mic on your hi-hat side is picking up way too much hi-hat, you can move it closer to the left crash cymbal. And if your overhead on your ride side is picking up too much china cymbal, you can place it closer to your ride. The other important thing for overheads is to make sure they're both in phase with each other regarding the snare drum. To make sure the overheads are in phase, take a measuring tape and measure the distance from the center of the snare drum to each overhead mic. In this example, I adjusted them so the mics are exactly 4 feet away from the center of the snare drum. Anywhere from 4 to 5 feet away from the snare is a good place to start. If your overheads are not in phase, the snare drum will sound thin and weak. That's it for miking drums. On the next video, I'm going to talk about setting your preamp gain for recording, and then I'll talk about mixing drums.